Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, your go-to channel for all tech things, whether it's Salesforce, machine learning, Python, or data visualization. My name is Sumit, and today we will diving into something that can really streamline your workflow. And in today's video, I will be going to show you how can we make the posting directly to the LinkedIn using Salesforce screen flow. If you ever found yourself switching back and forth between Salesforce and LinkedIn just to get a quick update out, this video is for you guys. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through setting up a screen flow in Salesforce that allows you to post messages to LinkedIn directly from within Salesforce. Imagine being able to share the updates or to make new posts or to make new stories or some important announcements within your LinkedIn network or on a network wall without leaving the Salesforce platform. That would be really interesting. So in this tutorial, in this video, we will be going to cover everything from the business requirement behind this automation to setting up the LinkedIn API integration and building up a user-friendly screen flow to simplify your posting process. By the end of this video, you will be able to post seamlessly and save time while keeping your social media presence active. So let's get started and make posting to LinkedIn easier than ever with Salesforce. And yes, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell icon so you never miss an update. So basically, in let's try to understand the background first. So our marketing and sales team, they frequently make the posting and the updates, achievements, and new initiatives on LinkedIn to engage with our audience and increase the brand awareness. Currently, posting messages to LinkedIn require manual steps that take up time and introduce inconsistency in messaging. So, automating this process using Salesforce Screen Flow will streamline the workflow and ensure consistent and professional messaging across platform. So basically, the business requirement is to develop a business or a Salesforce screen flow that allows the users to easily post messages to LinkedIn directly from Salesforce, reducing manual effort and save time. So in this tutorial, I will be going to show you how can we make the posting from Salesforce screen flow directly onto Salesforce. And in this tutorial, we will be going to see, we will be follow these steps. Uh, yeah, so here are the steps we will be going to follow. So basically, we will be going to, first of all, we'll create a LinkedIn app. We'll create an authentication provider, external credentials, then we'll create name credentials, and finally, we'll create a screen flow which can make an HTTP call outs. And we are going to make two call outs, basically get and post request with a screen flow environment. And in this tutorial, you will be going to learn how to discover how to seamlessly connect two different systems by utilizing name credentials and external credentials with Oath 2.0 authentication. So here are the steps, and I will be going to show you, I will be going to guide you how to follow these steps one by one. So let's proceed with today's video. So first of all, let me switch to my org, and here is my LinkedIn developers account. So the very first step is, as you can see, the first step is we need to set up a LinkedIn developers account. That is the very first step we have to do. So the first step we need to do is we need to create a LinkedIn app, and that's what we are going to do here. So we are going to set up our developers. We will be going to set up a developer app first. So how do we do this? It's pretty simple. You need to visit developer.linkedin.com and then click on My Apps. So when you click on My Apps, you will be able to get a list of all your existing apps. And if you want, you can get a list of all the existing apps if you have built any. If not, if you haven't built any app yet, so what you need to do then, you need to click on this button to create a new app. So I'm going to start creating a new app because still now I haven't created any app yet. And the app which I was created for my previous topic, I have already cleared those. I have already removed that. So I'm going to use this one and I click on create app. Step number one, create a LinkedIn app, and you can give a name. So I'll give the name as, let's say, AI Tech 1 LinkedIn app. You can give any name you want. Uh, when you click on the action, okay, as you can see, I tried to do this, but it says LinkedIn not account. So I'll just write here AI Tech 1 screen flow app, for example. And here we need to see the LinkedIn page. And in my case, I have already created a LinkedIn page. So if you haven't created any LinkedIn page yet, then what you need to do, you need to create a page, and you can see I've already created a page here, LinkedIn page. So I'm going to use that one. I write here AI Tech 1. And this is a page which I will be using right now. So I select this LinkedIn page, scroll down. You can upload a app logo. So I'm going to upload a logo from my desktop. So I've already saved a file, and I am going to upload a logo from my drive. So I'll just upload my company logo here. Make sure it's a square image recommended, and at least one dimension should be 100 px. So make sure that we follow the dimensions. Scroll down and check this box. I have read and agree to the terms. So you have to agree and click on create an app. So 1 second. Yeah. Scroll down and click on create app. So you can see our app created successfully. This is the step number one. So I have already created an app. This is the app. This is our LinkedIn app. And in this LinkedIn app, you can see there are few options coming up. And these options are very useful, very helpful in order to configure these settings. So these options will help us to configure all the steps. When I click on Auth, I'm able to see the authentication keys, client ID, and primary client secret. Auth 2.0 access token to live duration. We will be requiring the redirect URL and all. Right now, I don't have any redirect URL. We'll be going to get the URL, and also we need to add the permissions. But before that, I'll go to products. I'll click on products, and we will be going to activate the product. So the first is we need to request access. I click request access. I click request access here, and you are requesting access to default tier for share on LinkedIn. And I check this box and click on request access. So this particular share on LinkedIn, what's the purpose of this? This will be allowed to share or to make a post on the LinkedIn. So if you want to know more about this, we can click on view docs and we can see the share on LinkedIn. So share on LinkedIn, basically, what's the purpose of this? It is used to share the content with your social network. Your content receive the professional audience it deserve using share on LinkedIn. And here, okay, and how do we share the LinkedIn? How do we make the request call? So to make a post on LinkedIn, we'll be using this URL. So basically, we'll be going to talk about this more later, not now. So that is the first product I activate. Now, the next is the authorization, because LinkedIn is a separate platform and Salesforce is a separate platform. These are two different entities, and we need to establish a communication between them by using OpenID Connect. So when I scroll down, we can see sign in LinkedIn with OpenID Connect. So this will help us to connect to establish a connectivity between Salesforce and LinkedIn. So I click on request access, and you can say you are requesting access to standard tier for signing in LinkedIn using OpenID Connect. So basically, we would like to sign in into LinkedIn from Salesforce using OpenID Connect. So I'll check this permission. I just check the checkbox and give request access. So two settings we have done. And to know more about this, sign in with LinkedIn using OpenID Connect, we can click on view docs, or we can see the endpoints also. We have the endpoints, so we will be going to discuss about the endpoints, and we will be using these endpoints later. Now the next step is, you need to click on settings, and in settings, we need to go to verify. So I click on verify. That's the next step we need to do here. So as you can see, LinkedIn page and API, this all. But we have to click on verify. So I click on verify. And once I click on verify, when a page verify the association to an app, it also takes responsibility for it to enable page admins to view this association. And I click on, we need to click on this URL. I click on generate URL, and here is the URL. So basically, this URL will be used for association for verification. So I copy this URL and paste it somewhere in my notepad. I'll just make a note of this URL because I will be going to use this URL later. So I have copy pasted this URL. Now, if I copy this URL and try to paste, I'll just paste this URL directly in the tab. Let's have a look what this URL does. Basically, you can see verify responsibility for an app. I say verify, and see this AI Tech One ScreenFlow app is now verified with your LinkedIn page. So we have successfully verified this. And when I refresh, I'll say I'm done. And when I refresh here, you can see it's verified successfully. So our LinkedIn page, our LinkedIn app, and the page has been they have been verified successfully with each other. Now the next step is we need to configure an authorization provider in Salesforce. That's a step number 2. So step number 1, we have created a LinkedIn app and we have verified that app. The step number 2, we need to create an authentication provider. So in order to do this, I'll switch back to my Salesforce org. And in the Salesforce org, we look for oath. And here's an option called oath providers. So basically, auth providers, they allows us to establish a connectivity. And for this, what is an auth provider? This is the auth provider. To know more about this auth provider, we can check this out. What is auth provider? Basically, to know more both what is auth providers. So as you can see, the entity that provides authentication services to an app or organization. So this we are going to use, and I click on new auth provider. And from here, I select LinkedIn because we will be going to connect it with LinkedIn. So provider type, I'll give the name as, let's say, LinkedIn Auth Provider. We can give any name you want. I give the name as LinkedIn Auth Provider. Here we required the consumer key and consumer secret. Now, from where we get this consumer key and consumer secret? So this consumer key and consumer secret will be the consumer key and consumer secret from our LinkedIn app. So I'll switch back to my LinkedIn app, click on Auth, and here we have the client ID and the primary client secret. So our primary client, this client ID will be our consumer key, and the client secret will be our consumer secret. So I'll copy this client ID, paste it as a consumer key. And for the client secret, I copy this client secret and paste it over here, client secret. Make sure we copy exactly as we have. Otherwise, it's not going to connect. Now, the important is from where we get this authorized endpoint URL and the token endpoint URL. And in order to get this authorized endpoint URL and token endpoint URL, I'll get back to the products. And in product, we have sign in with LinkedIn using OpenID Connect. So when we click on endpoints, we'll be able to get the, you have to click on view docs. Here, sign in with LinkedIn. It's already there. Actually, I've already opened. And here we will be going to sign in on LinkedIn. I'll say sign in on LinkedIn with OpenID Connect. Scroll down. And here, when we scroll down, we will be getting the endpoints. Those endpoints will be going to use here. So I'll just go to development, authentication, authorization code flow, scroll down, and here I will get the URL, request an authorization code, scroll down, and here you can see https linkedin.com/auth v2 authorization. Same thing you can get here. So I'll copy this. I copy this code and paste it here. We don't require get. Make sure that we don't use the methods. And how about the token endpoint URL? Scroll down and we can get the token endpoint URL also. So token endpoint, this is the token endpoint URL, access token. I copy this and paste it here. That's all we need to do. So I just copy paste these two details. Now the important is we need to specify the scopes. So as you can see, we have the scope. What all scope we need to define the default scope. And for this, I'll get back to the scope and what scope we are going to give. So for the scope, from where you can get the scope, let me show you the scope. So for the scope, we click on uh, oath and product. So from where we get this scopes, because it's important to define the scope. So from where I get this scope. So when you refresh your page and when we navigate to the oath, so open oath, and here we have the scope. So the scope we have open IDs, profile, user, use name and photo, and open ID, create, modify, and delete, post, comment, and reaction on your behalf, and email. So I just wanted to pass all these scopes over here, but make sure that we pass all the scopes by providing space. So I just paste open ID, space, profile, copy paste, give a space, and space, and email, and space. So that what I gave here, this one. Open ID, profile, W members, social, W underscore member underscore social, and email. That's all. So that's a scope I define. Or so I have defined all these scopes here. And finally, we click on save. And once we click on save, our oath provider generated successfully. And now when we scroll down, we can see the callback URL. And this callback URL we need to copy. So I just use this copy callback URL. And this callback URL will be going to define here, authorize redirect URL for your app. So I'm going to paste that URL over here. I provide this URL here and update. So that's the way we connected. That's the way we connected here. Now the next step is, so what we have done, we have successfully established, we have successfully created an authentication provider. Now the next step is we need to create the external credentials. So let's begin that. And for this, I click here, named credentials. And in named credentials, when you click on name credentials, you will get an option called external credentials. So I click on external credentials and click on new. And I'll give the name as LinkedIn external credential. And authentication protocol will be using Oath 2.0. So here we'll be using Oath 2.0. Authentication flow type will be browser flow, and the authentication provider, the one we configured, LinkedIn Oath provider, and click on save. Now the next is within the external credentials, I need to specify the principal. So I click on new, and we are going to define the named principal. I'll label as admin, and the identity type will be named principal. And save this. So when you scroll down, you can see we have the name principal and the authorization not yet successful. So we'll be able to see that. And now this this principal we are going to assign to the user, to the current user. For this, I'm going to say, just redirect to permission set. The reason is this name credentials we have to assign to our name to a specific user or to a specific people. So I'm going to create a permission set. And in that permission set, I will be assigned that permission to the name principal to a particular user. So I click on new permission set. and click on LinkedIn permission set. Say LinkedIn, I'll say LinkedIn call out permission, or let me label this as LinkedIn permission sets. Save this. Then scroll down, and here we have external credential named external credential principal access. So I click on external credential principal access, click on edit, and the LinkedIn external credential admin. Select the external credentials with the principal we added. Save this. And now we will be going to assign this permission to a user. So I click on manage assignment, and I will be assigning this permission set to a user. So I will be giving this permission to myself only. So I'm going to give permission to me only right now, as because I'm a system administrator. If you want, as per your requirement, as per your business requirement, you can assign permissions to more users also. So I'll give next and assign. So I have assigned the permission to a user. One assignment will be successful. So we have successfully done the assignment. Now we will be going to extend the access of external credential principal using permission set. We have already done. Now the next step is it's time to create the named credential. Now we are going to create a named credential. So how do we do the named credentials? So again, I click on named credential. That's the next step. After we configure the external credential, now it's time to configure the named credential. So I click on new, and we will be going to set up a named credential here. So I label this as LinkedIn named credential. LinkedIn named credential. Here we need a URL. That's the important part. From where we get this URL. And in order to get this named one, what we need to do, I'll get back to the LinkedIn one where we'll be login, like connecting, authorizing, and login. And when we scroll up, here we will be getting, and here we get the connection name. We need the URL, which we need to pass here, the URL. And if I scroll down, to sign in with LinkedIn using OpenID Connect, here is this will be the URL, https api.linkedin.com. So this URL I will be going to pass here within the named credential. And scroll down, external credential. So we use LinkedIn external credentials. And scroll down, outbound network. Okay, that's fine. And finally, click on save. Now, this is the LinkedIn credential. Now, the next is we need to create, like whenever we want to make any post on LinkedIn from Salesforce, we will be going to use this URL. But in order to make the request for posting, these are the following headers we need to configure. So therefore, we will be going to follow this configure under name credentials. So I click on switch to name credentials, and within name credentials, we used to have custom headers. So I click on new, and here I will be going to add the header. So for the header, share on LinkedIn, the header name is xrest. I will be using this header and paste it. And the value will be 2.0.0. That's the value. And click on save. Now, if I'll get back to my named credentials, and if I click on name credential again, click on external credentials, the LinkedIn external credentials, and you can see this external credential basically the principal not yet configured. Now it's time to configure this, and configure means we will be going to configure this with LinkedIn. So with Salesforce, with LinkedIn, sorry. So I click here and say authenticate. And when I click on authenticate, let's see what happened. When I click on authenticate, you can see it redirects me to my LinkedIn account and it wants me to provide my credential. So here I have to provide my credentials and proceed. So I'm going to pass my password. I'm going to set my password here. So let me mention, click on sign in. Okay. As you can see, I've successfully signed in here. It asks me to give permission. So I give permission allow. I give permission and confirm. So once the confirmation will be done and once we have successfully authenticate and authorized, you can see I got a confirmation message here configured successfully. So that means uh, our auth provider, our auth provider, one principal has configured successfully with the LinkedIn account. So this step is very important. If this step is not working out, that means you are not successfully connected with your LinkedIn account from Salesforce. And if it doesn't happen, that means you are not able to make any post or you're not able to make any request from LinkedIn. Now it's time to start creating a flow. So I'm going to create a flow now. So I'm going to create a flow here. And the flow we will be going to create, that would be a screen flow. So I click on flow and click on new flow. And the purpose of this flow is that we'll get input from user. And when user enter a message and click on the post and click on the button, that message get post on our LinkedIn account. So I click on start from scratch, next, and I will be going to create a screen flow here. In this screen flow, the very first step is I'm going to create a screen here. And let's say LinkedIn post screen. And I'll do some customization. I'll remove the header. And for footer, I hide pause, hide previous, use custom label. And I set the label as post. And I need a So I will be going to add one text button to get an input. So I'll just use here. Uh, I'll use a text field in order to make a post. I use long text area and I label this as message to. I'll just put the label as message to post required and done. So this is first part we have done. So we have successfully created one screen. So in this, let me save this flow also. Flow to post on LinkedIn and save. So we'll get a screen flow. Now the next step is it's time to share the post on LinkedIn. And in order to make a post, we'll be using the post request. So as you can see, whenever we want to make a post on a LinkedIn, we'll be using post. But the thing is, before making a post, it's important to connect to LinkedIn. It's important that we establish a connection with LinkedIn. Okay. And before making some post, we have the author, the life cycle status, the specific content and visibility, and all these all so whenever we make a request or whenever we make a post onto LinkedIn from Salesforce, we required all these fields need to be added. Author, the name author of the share contains person URN of the member, life cycle status, specific content visibility, all these fields we need to create. So anyway, we'll be going to discuss this. And if I scroll down, we can see a sample body. Here you can see we have author, we have life cycle status, specific content, and the text we wanted to post on our LinkedIn, and the visibility. We want to make it public so that everyone will be able to see this. And in order to connect, so in order to connect, what we'll do, we'll be making a request to the sales, we'll be making a request to connect. So here we have an option to user info where we get the response and where we get the name and the given name and the file. So we'll get the detail about the user, the logged in user from this. So let's proceed with this first. And what we are going to do, the very first step is within the flow. We have already created a screen, and now I will be going to create one action. And the action I'm going to make here will be the HTTP call out. I'm going to make a HTTP call out. And the first HTTP call out will be, we will be signing on LinkedIn. So I just write here, sign on LinkedIn. And the name credential will be using here LinkedIn name credential. You can see it's using that AP, it's using this app. And click on next. Here we need to give a label. So I'll give the label as sign in on LinkedIn. Method will be get method because we want to sign in. So the method will be get method. And here it is. In order to sign in, we'll be using get method, and we will be using user info. This. So once it is successful, we'll get this. So I'll copy this the remaining URL and paste it in the URL path. And as you can see, it does not require any parameters. So we are not passing any parameters here. I simply click on next. Okay, here we have the sample response method. Either we can go for connect for schema or we can use the example response. So in example response, here is the response. We can use this example response. Or I'm going with the connect for schema, which will help me to make sure to understand that whether the connection established successful, like we are connecting successfully or not. So I click on connect for schema and click on next. And I'll just add a description here. I'll give a description here. Let's say the description as LinkedIn connection response or LinkedIn sign-in response. LinkedIn sign-in response. And when I click connect, if the connection is successful, I'm getting this sub email verified. You can verify this sub email verified. See this? We are getting all the fields and click on save. That means it's successfully done. And here I just write sign in, sign on LinkedIn and save this. That's all. So first of all, we have successfully signed in. Now I wanted to check whether we have successfully signed in or not. So because in order to make any post, before making any post, we want to check whether sign in is successful or not. So therefore, I'm going to make a decision block to make sure to check whether the sign in will be successful or not. If it is not, then it will throw an error message. Otherwise, if it is successful, then we will make a post. So I click here and choose a decision block. And in decision block, verify sign in on LinkedIn. Sign in successful and failed to sign in. And how do we verify whether sign in will be successful or not? Because when we make a request in response, it's going to respond. The response code will be 200. If the response is successful, then the response code will be 200. That's a standard way to validate this. So I'm going to write here. I just check if the output from this one. So this action. So we have the sign in on LinkedIn. See, I'll sign in on LinkedIn, and I just say if the response code is equals to 200, that means sign in will be successful. Sign in will be successful here. And I'll just close this. So now you can see, let me save this. So we have sign in successful and failed to sign in. Now, once the sign in will be successful, after that, we want to prepare to make a post. So therefore, again, I click. So now, as you can see, we got sign in on LinkedIn and we have verified the sign in also. So once the sign in will be verified, now it's time to make a post connection to the LinkedIn so that we can prepare our flow to make a post on LinkedIn. And for this, when we want to make any post on LinkedIn, we'll be using this URL. This will be the URL to make a post, to make an API request. This API request requires some request body schema, which will be going to create later or configure later in our flow. And when we scroll down, we used to have a request body, sample request body, and sample. This is a sample request body where we get the author lifecycle specific content. And here, this one, specific content. So let's have a look. How do we prepare that? So therefore, I click plus and action, create HTTP callout action, and I label this as post on LinkedIn. Name credential will be LinkedIn name credential. Next, posting on LinkedIn. Method will be post, and here we have to specify the URL path. So I will copy the URL. So the complete URL will be /v2/UGC post and paste it. It does not require any parameters, so I simply click on next. And here I just write post sample request because we are going to make a sample request, and the request is this one. Sample request body is this one. Sample request body. I copy this and I'm going to paste this sample request body here and review. So it will review that. Now, when we click next, again, we have two options, connect for schema or use sample response. I will be using the sample response here. So I click on use sample response, next, and post sample response. And here, the sample response I'll define as ID colon XXXX. You can define it and review this. And we get the ID because our objective is to get the ID. This ID will be stored into this ID. And finally, we click on save. And let me see the error. So as you can see, it saved successfully. The error was the naming convention. We need to follow the naming convention actually. Okay. And so the external service name was LinkedIn post. I was using the same, basically it was showing an error for the duplicate error. So it's solved now. And I just label this as LinkedIn post action. And now here, the important thing is here we have to specify the request body. This is what we have to do because as you can see here, we have the request body, which we need to configure. So this we will be going to configure now. And you can see which is the API request for the HTTP callout action. What we have to do here, we click on new resource. And I'll give the name as LinkedIn request body. LinkedIn request body description will be fine. And we will be going to set done. So I set the LinkedIn request body. That's successfully done. So we have made a post request. Now, again, I wanted to make sure that if the post connection will be successful, then finally we are going to make a post. So again, I click plus. Again, I add a decision block. and I'll just validate post validation decision block. And I'll just write post connection successful and post connection failed. That means if our platform is ready to post the messages or not. And here, how do I verify this? Now, in this case, once the posting will be done, so the response code will be 201. So therefore, here I click and output from LinkedIn post action response code, and the response code I set as 201. I set the value as 201 here. I'm just let me increase the size 201 and close this. And now finally, we will do the posting part. And once the posting will be done, I want to display a success message screen. So I simply display a success screen. And the success screen, let's say success screen, and show header, configure footer, hide pause, hide previous, and simply display text. Success message. And here I write post on LinkedIn successful. I'll just increase the size for this and done. And post on LinkedIn successful. Done. So this will be the final one. Now I wanted to add, like if any error comes up, so how do we handle that? If any issue comes, if any error comes while signing in or while posting, so how do we manage that? So therefore, I'm going to add a fault path. And in this fault path, I add one screen in order to display fault screen. And in this fault screen, I simply display the error. So configure footer and hide pause, hide previous, and I simply display a message display text. Error text. And here I need to display the text. So how can I do this? Insert resource, scroll down, flow, and from here I use fault message. And I select this, set the color as red, and increase the size. So that is just in case if any error occur, you'll be able to see it. Same happens here also, like while if it is not success, so I just click here and say add fault path, and this fault path will be connecting to this screen element. And here also, if it is connection post failed, so this also I want to connect to the element to this one. So basically, if any error comes, any sort of error comes up, it will redirect to the fault screen. Now, the important part, whenever we make a post, we need to take care of the request body. So in request body, we need to pass the author, the life cycle state, the specific content, the visibility. So for this, what we'll do, we will be assigning this. So basically, these are the request body schema which we need to assign. And where are we going to assign this? Where to assign this? We'll be assigning this before we post on our LinkedIn. So once the sign in is successful, I will be assigning this. So I just write here request, post request assignment. Request assignment. Request assignment. And here we have to set the variables and their values exactly the way we have. So we click here, output from LinkedIn, because that's sign in from LinkedIn, because this will be signing in. So, LinkedIn request body. I will be using now when we follow this. If I scroll down, let me scroll down the body and this one, author, lifecycle state, specific content. So this we need to add. So I'll just click here, LinkedIn request body, and first of all, author is equals to, we need to set the author here. So therefore, I'm going to add a new resource. I'll just click on new resource, set as formula and login ID, data type as text, and here the login ID will be URNLI. So I copy this. We need exactly the same one, but our requirement is we need to auto generate this ID. So I'll just concatenate this, concatenate with the sign on. We have to concatenate with sign on. And from here, we can get the sub. So this I get here, check syntax. And okay, this one is it should be in double quotes. So double quotes, let me add a space so that it will be very much clear, and then check syntax, it's valid, and click done. The next assignment we want to do is life cycle state. So click plus and sign on. This should be again life cycle body, life cycle state. And the life cycle state we want is published. So I'm going to set exactly as published. Next one we want is text, and the text one belongs to life specific content. And then, so this we have to follow this. So LinkedIn request body, specific content, 2x, and text. So as you can see, share commentary and text. So this text equals to, and this we will be getting from the screen, LinkedIn post screen message to post. So this will be the message from our first screen. Next, I want to configure here is share media category and add assignment. And this share media category, it belongs to specific content. So again, LinkedIn request body, specific content, and share media category. And this will be set as none. So I'm going to set this as none. And the final one is the visibility. So I click plus. Again, the LinkedIn request and visibility and com LinkedIn UCD member visibility, I want to make it public. So I'll copy public and paste it here. So this all we used to set. This all assignment we used to set. And finally, we save this. Now it's time to test. Important is testing. And in order to test it, I'm going to debug this. So let's have a look. How do we do this? So let's test it. And in order to test it, before activating this, I'm going to click on debug. I click on debug and click on run. And here we're going to test it. So I just write here, hello from Salesforce. And I just write, this is a test message. This is a test message to test LinkedIn integration. And finally, I click on post on LinkedIn. So once the posting will be done, it will display a message, post on LinkedIn successful, and you can see the LinkedIn success, the posting will be successful. You can see the stage of various stages. So basically the posting has been done successfully. Now let's verify whether the really posting has been done on LinkedIn or not. So I'll get back to my post. I'll get back to my LinkedIn account, refresh, and I'm going to verify the posting. So where I can see that, I click on my name and I click here and I just see, I can see my postings. So I can see my own postings. So I click my name. And when I click my name and scroll down, I can see a post here. You can see this activity. So when I see this activity, you can see a message. Hello from Salesforce. This is a test message to test LinkedIn integration. So that means the posting will be done successfully. Okay, everyone. And that's the way we can perform a posting on sales on LinkedIn from Salesforce using ScreenFlow. And what we can do now, we can activate this flow. Now, in order to use this flow in actual use, what we can do, I'll simply activate that flow and I can place that flow on my screen. So let's suppose I'll just open my marketing CRM classic application and I will be going to publish this application. Click here, edit page, and basically we need to place that flow. I'm going to place that flow on my app screen. So here's a flow and I'll drag and drop the flow. I drag and drop my flow here and the flow is flow to post on LinkedIn. Save this and back. Like this way, our users, the end users, basically they can make the post directly on the LinkedIn from our screen only by using Salesforce screen flow. So that's all for the day. That's all in this video. And as you can see, we have successfully completed all the steps, what we discussed here. All the 5 steps has been completed successfully. So I'm winding up this video right now. If you like this video, don't forget to post your comment in comment box. You can post your comment. Don't forget to like the button. Don't forget to press the like button. That will help us to that will encourage us to create more interactive videos, more interactive and learning videos for you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a nice day. Goodbye.